praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai. This is Rayabya, back with another breakdown dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel. This breakdown is dealing with the tribe of Asher, which consists of the indigenous brothers and sisters from Colombia all the way down to Uruguay. And that consists of all these indigenous aborigines, so-called native Indians from those particular regions, from those particular countries, from Colombia, Venezuela, Bolivia, Suriname, Peru, Brazil, Ecuador, Venezuela, if I did not mention it, Uruguay, Paraguay, so on and so forth. All those countries dealing with the Incan Empire, Slovakia, as well as the Tupi Indians and different native tribes that are down there. Okay? So I just want to bring out some information, just confirming that the people down there are Israelites, all right? You know, just give a little bit of information, especially places in Peru and Brazil, but it's all through that whole area from Colombia all the way down to Uruguay. Just want to give you some references, okay? Now, the first reference I want to go ahead and get into is Manasseh ben Israel, the Hope of Israel, the Lippmann Library of Jewish Civilization, okay? Now, there's a piece of there's a part in here where I'll touch on a later time, you know what I'm saying, for another lesson, for another historical lesson. But I want to just go and hit the points right here, right? And this is off of page 116, all right? Now, I'm going to touch this point right here. The first ground of that opinion is taken from, see, let me just make sure that there's not an extra part in here. Nah, let's go ahead and go into it. So yeah, page 116 in this book, The Hope of Israel by Manasseh ben Israel, all right? Now it reads, the first ground of that opinion is taken from 2nd Ezra 13, chapter 39 verse to the 45th verse. All right, that verse proves that the 10 tribes are from America. All right, the 10 tribes left the Assyrian captivity, right, and they sailed over here to the Americas. All right, you can read up on that, etc., which we quote as ancient, though it be apocryphal. All right, so it's talking about the Apocrypha, right, where it said that the 10 tribes which Shalmaneser carried captive in the reign of Hosea beyond Euphrates determined to go into countries far remote in which none dwelt, whereby they might better observe their laws. And as they passed over some branches of Euphrates, God wrought miracles, stopping the course of the flood till they had passed over. And the country is called Assyria, from which, right, now watch this, from which we may gather that the 10 tribes went to New Spain and Peru and possessed those two kingdoms. New Spain, speaking of Mexico, and Peru is in South America. All right, so it's giving you an understanding that they sailed from the Euphrates River out to the Indian Ocean, sailed down to from the Horn of Africa. All right, the Lord guided them, you know, for about a year and some change, and they came over here to the Americas, into the areas of New Spain and Peru. All right, but in particular Peru. Okay, now just to give you an understanding of the name Peru and where it actually originates from, like I said, I could pull out the other page in this book, but I'm gonna say that for another breakdown. All right. So this is Ophir, all right? Like I said, I'm gonna say this for another breakdown, from historical breakdown. Ophir, right? Ophir, Hebrew, modern, all right, Ophir is a port or region mentioned in the Bible, famous for its wealth. King Solomon received a cargo from Ophir every 3 years 1 Kings 10 and 22, which consists of gold, silver, sandalwood, pearls, ivory, apes, and peacocks. All right, so let's go ahead and skip down. All right, or let's deal with the Americas. All right, deal with the point of me pulling this out off of Wikipedia, obviously, and of course you can check these different reference points in Wikipedia. All right, so this section is Americas. In a letter written in May 1500, Peter Martyr claimed that Christopher Columbus identified Hispaniola with Ophir. All right, and Hispaniola is what area? That's talking about, the Dominican Republic. All right, and it says the theologian Benito Arias Montano in 1571 proposed finding Ophir in the name of Peru, reasoning that the native Peruvians were thus descendants of Ophir and Shem. Now, when it says Ophir and Shem, that's just their ignorance, but the native Peruvians are, in just like every other native in all these other, the Aborigines of what you know as America, all of these people go back to the 12 tribes of Israel, in particular the 10 tribes. All right, so I'm gonna read that again. The theologian Benito Arias Montano, 1571, proposed finding Ophir in the name of Peru. So Peru is an offshoot of the name of Ophir. All right, reasoning that the native Peruvians were thus descendants of Ophir and Shem. Okay, so that leads me to go into this. Feats and wisdom of the ancients. All right, library of curious and unusual facts. All right, so go ahead and go down to the pages. Go through the pages, Salakia. All right. Now let's go ahead and go into this right here. Let's go ahead and go right here. Okay, this is page 118. All right. And it says Phoenicians, all right, in America. Now, mind you, when they say Phoenicians, a lot of times, man, like they mistake the Phoenicians or Canaanites or Canaan with actual Israelites because they all spoke the same language, which was Hebrew. In particular, the Shemites, which are the 12 tribes, are the ones that mainly speak Hebrew. But of course, when you deal with the Zidonians, the people of Tyre, the people of Canaan, the people of Ham, certain people of Ham, such as the people of Canaan, and the Phoenicians, which I believe are cousins or another branch of the Canaanites, spoke Hebrew. So you're going to get that confusion there. But this information and backed up with everything that's factual proves that these people are Israelites. So just giving you an understanding of that. So beginning, in the first paragraph, we are sons of Canaan from Sidon, begins the manuscript. It is written in a Phoenician language used some 500 years before the birth of Christ. All right. Now remember, the 12 tribes did what? They left Osiris somewhere around the 700, between 701 BC and 600 something BC. All right. Early 6th century BC. All right. Just giving you a footnote. All right. Used some 500 years before the birth of Christ. In only 8 lines, it tells the story of a voyage around Africa of storm, human sacrifice, and salvation on the shores of what is now Brazil. All right. So it's what is now Brazil. So it's giving you a narrative that, guess what we just read out of this, that the 10 tribes, the Northern Kingdom, came over here and they first landed in the areas of South America, in particular Brazil and Peru. Also, too, that's where the first slave ports were put in Brazil, if you guys didn't know. And also, too, they knew which ones were of which tribe, just like how they sent just on another side note, they sent Judah, Benjamin, and Levi to their particular areas through biblical prophecy, that happened. So of course they're going to know the distinction between an Asherite and a Judite, or so on and so forth. That's the same thing that happened over there in the first slave passages in markets in Brazil. All right. So if it was indeed left by a Phoenician sailor, the text memorializes an ancient visit to the New World, long suspected by some scholars, if not Rayabya. It's like if I didn't pronounce that right. Inscription, as it is called, is among history's most intriguing hoaxes. All right, so of course, there's always going to be naysayers. So let's keep reading. All right. In 1872, Letícia Neto, the director of Brazil's National Museum of Rio de Janeiro, received from a colleague a copy of a letter. Its author, who was never found, described a stone tablet unearthed by workers on plantation in Paraguay, now called Joel Pesoso, all right, at Brazil's easternmost tip. Okay. Doubts about the inscription published the text in 1874. After unsuccessfully seeking the original tablet, the letter writer, the original tablet in the letter writer. The inscription was promptly branded a fraud by experts in Phoenician languages, and long simmering public debate ensued. Finally, Neto himself, after 10 years of professional and personal agony, recanted his belief in the text's authenticity. Okay, so of course, there's always going to be gainsayers of information, just like how you have people that gainsay different information on the 12 tribes, the 10 tribes in particular. All right, which is those so-called Negro only reprobates. All right, and of course you have Latino only, Native only reprobates as well. But you also have them that will try to say, "Oh, well, look, you see, they're not part of the 10 tribes. We're going to just refute all the information, all the scriptorial and factual information that backs up them being Israelites." So there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people trying to gainsay what's true. But continuing on, until the late 1960s, the case seemed settled and was virtually forgotten. Then Cyrus Gordon, an American scholar of Semitic languages, studied the text and declared it authentic, ironically, for some of the same reasons that it was adjudged fraudulent nearly a century before. So-called inaccuracies of vocabulary and grammar cited by critics in 1874 had become, by 1968, mere idiosyncrasies of dialect. Similarities between the inscription in ancient Hebrew, once considered evidence of deceit, had since been documented as normal among Phoenicians, a people who mix readily with a number of other countries. So what does that prove? It proves that the people of Peru, Brazil, and those particular countries down in South America and all throughout the North Americans, throughout North America, Central America, and South America are what? They're the descendants of the 10 tribes of Israel, all right? Which makes them the 10 tribes of Israel, all right? Just in particular, just giving you a factual point on Peru and Brazil in particular, all right? So I want to play segments of this video to give you an edification that down there in Peru, all right, which is also in conjunction with the countries of between Colombia all the way down to Uruguay, all right, the tribe of Asher. Of course, the Peruvians being descendants of the Incan Empire, also descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel, from in particular the tribe of Asher. Okay, just wanted to play this in segments and show this for a piece, and just for this breakdown with the tribe of Asher. All right, understanding that they had certain similarities, all right, with this people called the Atakusi, calling themselves the Israelites, that it was similar to people that follow the brothers, all right, the Southern Kingdom, the so-called black brothers and sisters that followed Benjamin Carter, as well as Yahweh Ben Yahweh, all right, and followed them, utilizing the knowledge of them being descendants of the Israelites and, being exploited, all right. So I just want to play this piece, all right, because the same thing was still happening over there down there in Peru. And this is a piece by Vice City. Slovakia, by Vice News, Slovakia.
Uma nova zona cocaleira foi implantada no Peru, nesta região do Baixo Amazonas. Os seguidores dessas seitas, que nós cremos serem fanáticos, estão plantando coca.
Antes no era así, esto era libre, no había habitantes.
This is a coca plantation here in the lower Amazon basin, an area where 10 years ago this crop and this cultivation was completely unknown. Welcome to Iquitos, Peru, right on the Amazon River, deep in the Peruvian rainforest. We're in an area that is close to the region where Colombia and Brazil meet Peru. This is an incredibly isolated place where you can only get to by plane or by boat. Right now, we're on our way to a pier on the river that's going to get us on a boat that's going to take us for 14 hours up this river in order to locate and meet a community known as the Atakusi. They call themselves the Israelites. Since 2013, Peru has become the world's leading producer of coca leaf and cocaine, replacing Colombia. Most of that coca is grown in the cool, high-altitude region of Peru known as the Verai, the type of climate where coca traditionally thrives. But in the following years, as coca interdiction efforts applied more pressure on coca growers, Peru's Amazon basin suddenly became a choice spot, thanks to an apparently new variety of coca leaf that is adapting to the Amazon's fragile ecosystem. It's not a place where crops were ever meant to be grown. But in 1995, a religious group known as the Atakusi, or the Israelites, decided that this tropical rainforest would be its promised land. They came to settle and to introduce farming to the Amazon soil. Their prophet Ezekiel Atakusi told them they would be Peru's living frontiers in the forgotten regions of the country that form the so-called triple border with Colombia and Brazil. Since then, the Atakusi have lost their leader, and according to anti-drug authorities in Brazil, some members of the Israelites Church in the Amazon rainforest have been directly involved in the region's booming cocaine industry. So we decided to come here to try to figure out how much of these allegations are true, and to see if we could get to know this reclusive and apocalyptic church. This journey felt a bit like stepping into a scene from the Werner Herzog film Fitzcarraldo. In fact, this is where it was filmed. The trip was slow and long. We were told it could take up to 2 days to get to our destination. At dawn, with almost another halfway to go, we met our first member of the Atakusi church. It was pretty easy to spot her.
Es el gran rey de los reyes, aunque el mundo no lo crea. Amén. Demos gracias a Jehová.
This is a community that has separated itself from Peruvian society. They dress in biblical clothes, biblical costumes, and really they are isolated as they attempt to sort of establish their presence permanently in the Amazon as they conquer the Amazon rainforest. The riverboat left us on the dirt pier of Altomonte. The self-confessed Israelites are a peaceful people, but they are not exactly welcoming to outsiders. We had heard that every Friday they hold a ceremony on the banks of the river. If we played it right, maybe we could film it, but we had to ask for permission and keep a low profile upon arrival. This organization has a name that's as long as
capital is here in Alto Monte, founded 20 years ago by people answering the call of their prophet Ezekiel to populate the borders of the Amazon.
Todos los israelitas somos trabajadores. Trabajaremos codo a codo en el agro para llevar a cabo con el desarrollo agropecuario.
They migrated from all across Peru, many fleeing economic hardships or the internal war with the Maoist guerrillas' shining path.
Que vengan todos aquí a Alto Monte de Israel para que así trabajen junto con nosotros y así aprendan muchas cosas así que en la selva. ¡Viva el proyecto de Fronteras Vivas!
Expectations were high. Today, 7,000 people live in this remote community with no running water, paved streets, or cell phone coverage. They use solar generators for the little amount of electricity there is to go around. It doesn't quite look like the promised land that Ezekiel Altaucusi told them it would be.
Para poder entender a la congregación israelita del Nuevo Pacto Universal, uno tiene que estudiar en primer lugar al líder, al que lo fundó. Ezequiel Altaucusi Gamonal representa la naturaleza social, la composición social de los seguidores. Proceder de ámbitos de los Andes, de los valles interandinos, los más pobres de los pobres. Él toma contacto con las Sagradas Escrituras gracias a su vinculación con los adventistas, pero considera que los adventistas no están haciendo el trabajo adecuado para poder salvar al mundo de una hecatombe que va a venir. Dios se le estaba apareciendo todas las noches y lo entrenaba en la lectura de las Sagradas Escrituras. Y él cuenta que en un determinado momento es ascendido al tercer cielo. Y en el tercer cielo se encuentra con la Santísima Trinidad, con el Padre, el Hijo y el Espíritu Santo. Y le dicen que escriba los 10 mandamientos. Él logra ir congregando más adeptos para desarrollar esta misión y nace el movimiento de los israelitas del Nuevo Pacto Universal.
Juan Ocio told us the Altaucusi started to figure out the importance of politics as a means to achieve the goals of their church. So they created a political party known by its acronym FREPAP. Ezekiel ran for president on the FREPAP ticket in 1990, nabbing 200,000 votes, and succeeded in placing members of his party in Congress.
Dice ser profeta, ¿verdad? ¿Usted es profeta?
Ya lo ha dicho.
Dios me ha dicho que usted es profeta.
Ezekiel ran again in 1995 and was preparing to run in 2000 when he suddenly died. The leader was supposed to have reincarnated the third day after his death, but to church members' surprise, that didn't happen. So the group decided that the spirit of Ezekiel must have had transmigrated to the body of his son, Jonas.
So with that being said, let's go ahead and go right into it. Let's go ahead and go right into this breakdown. So Genesis, the 49th chapter, the 20th verse, okay? Genesis 49 and 20, and it reads, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Out of Asher, all right? Now just real quick, dealing with the word Asher, before I go into breaking down this verse, the word Asher means happy, all right? In the Hebrew, Ashar, which that's what the word in the Hebrew, what the name Asher is in the Hebrew, which is Ashar, which means happy. We know that this is a particular characteristic dealing with the tribe of Asher, dealing with the Brazilians, the Peruvians, the Ecuadorians, the Bolivians, the Venezuelans, Colombians. And this is if you have dealt with those people personally or even see how their mannerisms, how their characteristics are, this is a clear indication of who they are. They're happy, jolly people, although they're living in impoverished lands or in poverty, rich natural resources, of the land, but living in poverty, being exploited by the so-called white men as well as these other nations. All right, even amongst their own governments by the Spanish and the Portuguese. Okay, so that's just to give you an edification on that particular part. So going into this verse, Genesis 49. So when the scripture says out of Asher, right, or dealing with the word Asher, all right. So this is Asher in the Strong's Concordance, Strong's H836, Ashar, Asher, Ashar, happy. Now, when you deal with the characteristics of people from Colombia to Uruguay, Brazil, Peru, Venezuela, Bolivia, so on and so forth, they have a kind, gentle, happy spirit, right? Even in their impoverished surroundings. Let's go ahead and deal with that. I mean, this picture right here is a illustration of that. All right, that they're very happy, jolly people. Even in the Quora, it says, "Why are Brazilians so stereotypically happy and friendly?" So this is well known around the world. All right, but not even just in Brazil. Go to Peru. You can deal with people in Peru. And this is something that also, too, you have to actually have spent time to actually have dealt with these people before, or, dealt with their spirit. They're happy people, all right? They have a gentle, happy spirit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is something that, it's something that's very glaring, very obvious, okay? Just for your all's edification, all right? So, just real quick, dealing with Paraguay, right? It says Paraguay is the world's happiest and most positive country in 2019, based on the Gallup 2019 Goal Emotions report. Paraguay has the highest positive experience index score worldwide. Paraguay regained the top spot as the world's happiest and most positive country. And Paraguay being one of those countries from Uruguay. Slovakia, from was it Colombia to Uruguay? Well, Paraguay, all right, it's one of the happiest countries. Predominantly dealing with and predominantly it's because of our people that's over there down in South America. Now, just real quick, this country once again is the happiest nation in the world. That's 2017. All right, talking about Paraguay. All right. It says more than 70% of the people of the worldwide reported that they smile or laugh a lot and felt enjoyment, well rested, and treated with respect. Gallup reported Latin America and South America have many of the world's happiest countries, partly because the cultural tendency in the region is to focus on life's positives. Here are the world's happiest, and it says here are the world's happiest nations with their positive index scores, right? Paraguay, Costa Rica, Panama, the Philippines, but mainly look who's on top. Paraguay is one of the countries, South America, dealing with the tribe of Asher. All right, and let's deal with this right here. All right, Paraguay is the world's happiest and most positive country in 2019, dealing with the Asherites. All right, we know that these are brothers and sisters right here, based on the Gallup 2019 Global Emotions Report. Paraguay has the highest positive experience index score worldwide. Paraguay regained the top spot as the world's happiest and most positive country. In the poll, it topped the list of positive experiences where people reported feeling a lot of positive emotions each day. All right. So, this is based off of the 2019, pretty much 2019's little report of this. In 20, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. So what is that speaking on when it says, out of Asher his bread shall be made fat? When you deal with that part in South America, all right, from Colombia to Uruguay, Paraguay, especially when you deal with Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, especially when you deal with Brazil, right? Brazil has been called in the past the breadbasket of the world. And then the reason why that is because 20% of that land, and also too, this accumulates with that whole land allotment in South America from that particular region, but in particular in Brazil, 20% of its land is full of cultivation of agriculture, growing up certain vegetables and fruit, different types of fruits and crops. All right, and they're one of the, if not the most largest producers of cattle, goat, sheep, coffee beans, sugar canes, rice, different kinds of fruits. All right, and these are different things that are used in trades with other different countries, which is the reason why it was called in the past the breadbasket of the world. Also too, when you accumulate that whole region, it produces a large amounts of different resources, right? A lot of different foods and resources for its countries, for the countries, different countries of their own selves, but also too for trades amongst the different nations of the world. Okay. So to further prove the tribe of Asher, all right, being the people of Colombia all the way down to Uruguay, right? From that particular region, from Colombia to Uruguay, Paraguay, Peru, Bolivia, French Guiana, Suriname, Brazil, Venezuela, what's the other country? Colombia, all right? All these particular countries, Peru, all the indigenous brothers and sisters from those regions, just to prove that they are the tribe of Asher. Now, Genesis 49:20, out of Asher his bread shall be fat, right? So the bread is speaking of what? The meats, the different foods that they produce, right? So go ahead and go through some of this information that I have. Now, this is off of Nat Geo, all right? And it says South America resources, all right? Slack you. Let me go ahead and skip down. All right. Actually, let's go ahead and go into this. Let's see. South America, the fourth largest continent, extends from the Gulf of Darien in the northwest to Tierra del Fuego archipelago in south. South America's physical geography, environments, and resources, and human geography can be considered separately. South America has diverse agricultural products, vast mineral wealth, and plentiful fresh water. It also has rich fisheries and ports on three bodies of water: the Caribbean Sea, Atlantic Ocean, and Pacific Ocean. The continent's economy is centered on the export of natural resources. So it's speaking of the agriculture that they have, right? So let's go into the agriculture section. South America extends from a broad equatorial zone in the north to narrow subarctic zone in the south. It can be divided into four climatic regions: tropical, temperate, arid, and cold. And Slack, let me skip down and deal with the main thing. All right. Let me go ahead and skip down and get to the point. All right. Okay. All right, so right here, many crops thrive in the tropical climates of South America. Cashews and Brazil nuts are cultivated. Fruits such as avocado, pineapple, papaya, and guava are also native to tropical South America. Two very important cash crops are coffee and cocoa. Cacao, all right, which is a source of cocoa. All right. The base ingredient in chocolate. Brazil is the world's largest exporter of coffee, and it used to be one of the largest exporters of cacao. In 2000, a fungus spread throughout many of South America's cacao plantations, devastating the economies of the region and driving up the price of chocolate. Chocolate industry of Brazil, Venezuela, and Ecuador are slowly recovering, but most of the world's cacao now comes from the countries in tropical Africa. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to bring out. Let's see. Okay, yeah, let's skip down. Says South America temperate climates are home to a number of industrial crops and livestock. Corn is produced throughout the temperate climates. Soybeans have become an increasingly lucrative crop in the pampas. All right, so this is all going into, his bread shall be made fat. Speaking of the tribe of Asher, okay. The pampas' vast, high quality pastures are also the center of South America's huge ranching industry. Brazil is the world's third largest beef exporter, behind only Australia and the United States. Argentina is also an important beef exporter. All right. Trying to skip down. There was some more stuff I wanted to touch on. Let's see. Okay, yeah. While these let me skip down. Actually, let's skip all that. Let's go here. All right. Forestry is the management of trees and other vegetation in forests. It is a major economic activity for tropical South America, especially the Amazon River basin. Many high-value tree species such as mahogany and rosewood are native to the rainforest. Lumber from these trees exported to foreign markets for use in cabinets and floors. Some countries have tree plantations. Let's skip down. All right, let me skip down and deal with this. Marine fisheries are the most important economic activity along South America's Pacific coast. All right. Although overfishing has depleted many fish populations, the cold Peru current brings nutrient-rich waters to the coast, creating a fishery with everything from whales to shrimp. Peru and Chile's abundant anchovy catches are processed into fish meal, an ingredient used in animal feed and fertilizer. Chile is a global leader in farm-raised salmon and trout, while Ecuador is an important shrimp exporter. Which, of course, that's not, that shrimp is an abomination. But, just giving you more, just giving you some information now. Go ahead. Let me deal with Brazil. All right. Deal with Brazil. Okay. But let me play this clip, and I'm gonna continue on reading some more information. All right, it's like. So this is off of Yara International. All right, this was posted in 2015. It's like in 2014. So this is dealing with the country Brazil. All right, Brazil. I'm gonna read this excerpt before I play this. Brazil has emerged as a global agricultural powerhouse. The country is a world-leading producer of several agricultural products. Political incentives and extensive investments have made the Brazilian agriculture success story materialize. All right, so let's go ahead and play this. Turn this up. So it said that they're the second largest producer of food in the world. All right.
15 anos para cá, nós aumentamos 156%.
See that 156% increase in agricultural production just in Brazil alone.
A produção agrícola brasileira.
So it says Brazil is the world's largest exporter of soybean, coffee, sugar, orange juice concentrate. All right.
País que tem uma diversidade de produção, desde fruta, flores, proteína animal, o grande exportador de café, primeiro lugar de café, de cana-de-açúcar, de etanol, de soja, o espaço privilegiado, solo, clima, água, nós temos tudo. Carregando a economia do Brasil. 5 milhões de propriedades, 4 milhões e 100 de pequenas propriedades, que hoje não são apenas agricultura de sustentação, mas entidades que já são empresas e empresários rurais ajudando o país em todas as direções.
Nós produzimos aqui 600 hectares de manga, que chega a uma produtividade anual de 10 mil toneladas de manga e 12 mil toneladas em uva. Todo dia se embala fruta aqui, todo dia sai caminhão de fruta durante o ano todo. Claro, com o segundo semestre ele tem uma maior intensidade, porque cresce as exportações na janela de exportações, mas para a atividade aqui é muito importante nós ter 2 safras por ano e ter colheita o ano todo. A parte nutricional da nossa fruticultura é baseado totalmente na nutrição por fertirrigação. Nós temos trabalhado muito com a fertilizante Yara, que ela tem os elementos que não pode faltar.
So yeah, that's pretty much it on that. But that just shows you the large amount of production of agriculture, the agricultural production that's going on down in Brazil. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and let me go ahead and deal with agriculture in Brazil in Wikipedia. All right. Just giving you more information, you know what I'm saying? You never can have too much information, all right? Because you have people out here saying that we don't know who the 12 tribes are, or they're going against, the 12 tribe chart and what they're, and who these particular people are. It's clear as day, all right? Now, it says agriculture in Brazil. The agriculture of Brazil is historically one of the principal bases of Brazil's economy. While its initial focus was on sugarcane, Brazil eventually became the world's largest exporter of coffee, soybeans, beef, and crop-based ethanol. All right. Now look at this right here. Brazil, breadbasket of the world. Let's click on that real quick. Citation expression coined during the Vargas era. All right. So, wait a second. The breadbasket of the world, right? Well, Genesis 49:20. Out of Asher, his bread shall be fat. All right. Brazil, which is part of Asher, we say it's between Colombia and Uruguay. Brazil is one of those countries, the breadbasket of the world, which is what was called, which Brazil was called. All right, largest exporter and producers of many different things. All right. Now let's get down to agriculture real quick. Actually. Like it says, in 2010, Brazil was the third largest exporter of agricultural products in the world, behind only United States and the European Union. All right. Let's see. Let's go to. I'm trying to see where the agriculture part is at. Slovakia. Okay, products. The principal agriculture products of Brazil are cattle, coffee, cotton, corn, rice, soy, wheat, sugar cane, tobacco, beans, floriculture, and fruit, forestry, vegetables, and cassava. All right. It says Brazil in 2005 produced around 8.7 million tons of beef, becoming the world exporter leader in 2003 after surpassing Australia. All right. Cattle herds are concentrated in Mato Grosso do Sul, Goiás, and Minas Gerais. All right. So coffee is produced in states like Sao Paulo and Minas. All right. It says Brazil's entry in cotton market led them to change the U.S. with illegal subsidized and tariffs. All right. Corn. Brazil has two harvests. Brazil corn has 2 harvests per year. The main harvest is during the rainy season, and a second dry cultivation harvest follows during the dry season in the south, and the main harvest is in late August, while the southeast and center west it happens in October and November, and in northeast by year end. All right. See, I'm gonna skip down. In 2006, corn was planted on about 13 million hectares, producing 41 million tons. Brazil was the third largest world producer, accounting for 6.1% of global production. Paraná was Brazil's biggest producer. All right. Rice. In 1980s, Brazil evolved from importing rice in small quantities to meet domestic demand. In the following decade, it became one of the main importers, reaching 2 million tons, equivalent of 10% domestic demand by 1997 to 1998. Uruguay and Argentina are the main suppliers of cereal to the country. All right. Let's see. I mean, I can keep going on, you know what I'm saying? You know, the proof is pretty much in the pudding. Tobacco. Brazil is the world's second largest tobacco producer and the largest exporter since 1993. Beans. Brazil is the largest producer of beans, accounting for 16.3% total and 18.7 million tons in 2005. All right. Said they produce hundreds of thousands of beans per year. Sugarcane. During the colonial period, Brazil depended heavily on the sugarcane and continued to lead the world sugarcane production into the 21st century. All right. Two of Brazil's wheat. Brazil's coldest states, Paraná, Rio Grande do Sul, account for over 90% of the wheat production. Brazil imports around U.S. 700 million in wheat every year. I mean, it's just, this is all just, overwhelming information about the breadbasket of the world, Brazil, as well as you have all them other countries in South America producing all the agriculture that they have, because it's South America, especially in Uruguay to Colombia to Uruguay. It just adds to the point of out of Asher his bread shall be fat. Okay? And it's just giving you more proof and evidence. So, with that being said, and it says, and he shall yield royal dainties. So when it says he shall yield royal dainties, what is that speaking on? That's speaking on the fact that when you deal with the different dishes of that those particular people down in South America produce, right? Those particular dishes from our brothers and sisters have a royal presentation to it. That's why it says it shall yield royal dainties. Dainties is different, dealing with different foods. So the different entrees, the different when you go into a Peruvian restaurant or a Brazilian restaurant or a Venezuelan restaurant that's being ran by our people, right? They have a royal sense, a royal aspect to their different dishes, all right? Their royal spin, all right? It's rich, all right? It has a rich look and it has a rich taste to it, all right? And this is based off of, and this particular understanding is based off of dealing with that firsthand. All right. So that's what that's speaking of. So with that being said, let's go ahead and transition to Deuteronomy the 33rd chapter, the 24th verse. Okay. So Deuteronomy the 33rd chapter. In the 24th verse, okay? Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 24. And of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren. So I'm going to stop right there. What does this mean when it says, and of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let him be acceptable to his brethren. It's speaking on the fact that when you deal with that large amount of different countries down there in South America, from Colombia to Uruguay, in Brazil in particular, and as well as the rest of those particular countries that is in that region in South America, they have a large amount of children, right, in all those particular countries, especially in Brazil. If not, Brazil is one of the, if not the largest country that has the most children in it. Okay, and when you deal with the fact that it says let him be blessed with children, when you deal with especially when you deal with like the 1960s and 70s, a lot of these young children from down there in Brazil, and then you can go watch the movie Cities of the God. I believe both movies. You can see that they formed because of the oppression that was going on down there, they formed gangs and they joined different drug cartels. All right, and at that time, the military of the different and this is going all this is all throughout the board, not just in Brazil, but all throughout those different countries. Different the government was hiring different mercenaries, all right, to go out and hunt and kill these children, all right, and take them out. You know, bringing in the firing squad and killing them. So when you deal with the fact that that's what they were dealing with, that's why the Lord had to bless them with a lot of children, because there'd be a lot of death that would be going down there. There'd be a lot of drugs, a lot of different ways that our young brothers and sisters down there that would be caught up in and would be destroyed by. All right, different traps and loopholes by the so-called white men, and even from their own people, even from our own people, Slakia. Okay, so that's why it says, let him be blessed with children. All right. Also, too, it says, let him be acceptable to his brethren. When the Spanish when the Spanish conquistadors came down there, as well as the Portuguese, right, that went into Brazil when they were hunting down the different native tribes and took down the different chiefs in the different indigenous tribes, as well as taking down the Inca Empire that the conquistadors did, right? A lot of those children that weren't captured fled. A lot of those people, Slakia, went and fled into the wilderness, all right? And what happened to them? They became more degenerate than they became degenerate, all right? All right, they became what you call savage-like, living in the land, eating pork, eating pigs and whatnot, putting sticks and whatnot through their mouths and whatnot, dressing naked, you know, eating human flesh, eating, you know, being cannibals. All right, they were destroyed in the mind. All right. So that's why it says, let his children be acceptable to his brethren. Okay. So continuing on, all right, Deuteronomy the 33rd chapter, the 24th verse, right? It says, verse, yeah, as I read on, it says, let him be acceptable to his brethren, and let him dip his foot in oil. It says, let him dip his foot in oil. All right. So when we deal with this, right, when it talks about let him dip his foot in oil, this is an allegory dealing with the type of resources that would be in that particular land in South America, and that would be the crude oil reserves that are all throughout those different parts, especially when you deal with Colombia, Venezuela, as well as Brazil. All right, all those countries are always battling for top spot of the largest oil producers of crude oil in the world for the United States and for other countries as well. All right, they have a lot of rich natural resources of oil reserves down there. All right. So when it says, and of Asher, Deuteronomy 33 and 24, and of Asher he said, let Asher be blessed with children, let him be acceptable to his brethren. And that's the part that I'm going to break down right now. And let him dip his foot in oil. Now, what is it speaking on? Speaking on the oil reserves. All right. Remember, we're in the latter days, right? In the last days, right? As it says in, dealing with the prophecies, right? Dealing with the tribe of Asher. Now, let's go ahead and go into the breakdown, right? Let him dip his foot in oil, right? So let's go to this right here. All right. So Venezuela and Brazil, all right, And then you have the other oil reserves that are down there in that whole region, which is overwhelming. But mainly I want to focus on Venezuela and Brazil, right? So it says Brazil overtakes Venezuela as the region's biggest oil producer. Oil production in Central and South America is at a high level of more than 7 million barrels per day since a decade ago, right? So let's go ahead and go into this, right? This is off of Investopedia, right? Dealing with economics and whatnot and all kinds of things. The biggest oil producers in Latin America, all right? We're going to read this off. Number one, Brazil accounts for oil production of about 2.5 million barrels per day and is the 10th largest oil producing country in the world, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. More than 90% of Brazil's oil production is extracted from deep water oil fields offshore. In addition, Brazil has nearly 13 billion of barrels in proven oil reserves, which is the second largest in Latin America after Venezuela, right? So let's keep going down. Number two, Venezuela produces roughly 2.2 barrel of oil per day. Production in recent years is down from the prior 2 decades, when daily production fluctuated around the 3 million barrel mark, including a high of more than 3.5 barrels per day in 1997, according to EIA. All right. So then third is Mexico, and then fourth is Colombia, which is all right. Which is part of that, because remember, we're dealing with the tribe of Asher, the countries, the indigenous brothers and sisters from Colombia to Uruguay, Venezuela, Brazil, and Colombia are part of those. Slovakia, of course, but dealing with that, Slovakia, let's go ahead and go to this right here. Venezuela, largest oil reserve. That's what I typed in. The proven oil reserves in Venezuela are recognized as the largest in the world, totaling 300 billion barrels as of 2014. So, with that said, let's go ahead and go to this. It's off of Wikipedia. List of countries by proven oil reserves, right? And just give you a synopsis. This is a list of countries by proven oil reserves. Proven reserves are those quantities of petroleum which, by analysis of geological and engineering data, can be estimated with a high degree of confidence to be commercially recoverable from a given date forward from known reservoirs and under current economic conditions. All right. So let's go ahead and go down. Countries. Reserves amounts are listed in millions of barrels. The column year in quotation mark years until exhaustion, it's like years until exhaustion, uses the daily production figures as of 2016. Look at the first country that you see. That's ranked number one. Venezuela. Oil reserves in Venezuela. All right. Over 300,000. It ranks number one in the entire world. Okay. Let's see. So let's go to this piece of information. Energy in Brazil. Brazil is the largest energy consumer in South America. It is the most important oil and gas producer in the region and the world's largest ethanol fuel producer. All right. Okay. Largest ethanol producer. So let's go ahead and deal with ethanol producer, just for y'all that don't understand. Ethanol fuel is ethanol alcohol, the same type of alcohol found in alcoholic beverages, used as fuel. It is most often used as a motor fuel, mainly as biofuel additive of gasoline. The first production car running entirely on ethanol was Fiat 147, introduced in 1978 in Brazil by Fiat. All right. So they're the number one ethanol producer in the world. dealing with cars and whatnot, dealing with certain vehicles and certain vehicles that are powered by that particular gas and oil, which proves what? The validity of who the tribe of Asher is, because it says in Deuteronomy 33 and 24, let him dip his foot in oil. Guess what? That would be the countries of Colombia all the way down to Uruguay, and predominantly Brazil and Venezuela, and Colombia and certain other countries are not too far behind. Okay. So that's what it's talking about in that particular verse, in that particular part of the verse. So reading on, verse 25, thy shoes shall be iron and brass. So it says, so right here it says, thy shoes shall be iron and brass. So real quick, what is that speaking of? It says, thy shoes shall be iron and brass, right? So, dealing with this, it's speaking on the production, a large amount of production of different alloys of metal down here. In particular, iron, brass, tin, copper, all right, nickel, various different alloys of metal that's produced down there, all right? And if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna put this in a post-production. There's a company down there in Brazil that is stated to be the largest iron ore producer in the earth, in the world. All right, which proves this verse to be true, that the Asherites in these latter day times are in South America. Okay. Also, too, when you deal with the name. When you deal with the word iron, right? The word iron means what? It means barazal, all right? Barazal in the Hebrew, when you speak in the Paleo Hebrew, in the ancient tongue, it's barazal, which is the same word that is put, the same name that is put on that same land, Brazil, which is stated to be had the largest iron ore production in the earth, in the world. Okay. So in Deuteronomy 33 and 25, it says, thy shoes shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Right? So dealing with this, let's go ahead and go into the Strong's Concordance. So it says, so thy shoes shall be iron and brass, right? So we can go to brass, nakashath, all right? Copper, bronze, feather, copper, or bronze, right? So let's go ahead and go to the word iron. Strong's H1270, barazal, barazal, iron ore, as material of furniture, utensils, implements, tool of iron, harshness, strength, oppression, figuratively, right? But let's focus on iron ore, because that's what it's dealing with. Iron ore. Now, first question we got to ask, what name, because we're dealing with the tribe of Asher, all right? We're dealing with the people from Uruguay, people from Colombia all the way down to Uruguay, right? So, what name, is in conjunction with barazal between those countries? It will be this country in Brazil. All right. Now, dealing with the breakdown of this, what country is Slovakia? So we understand that barazal in Brazil is pronounced the same, outside of the fact that one's in Anglo/Portuguese, and Portuguese. Now the other one is in Paleo Hebrew, right? All that being the separation. what else is similar? All right. Because it's Brazil and Barzal, right? And we're connecting the dots with this being the tribe of Asher, right? People of Colombia all the way down to Uruguay, and Brazil being one of those countries, right? Barzal being what? Iron ore, right? So, let's go ahead and go into it. Let's go ahead and go to this piece of information right here. Valley. All right, this is a company down in Brazil. Valley, S-A. S and A, and that's abbreviation. Portuguese pronunciation Valley, Slovakia. So Valley is a Brazilian multinational corporation engaged in metals and mining and one of the largest logistics operators in Brazil, right? So, and it says the products iron ore, manganese ore, copper, ferroalloys, nickel, coal, fertilizers. So that ties in with iron and brass, right? In Slovakia, in what we know as Deuteronomy 33 and 25, right? So let's go ahead and go into this. I'm going to read this information. Valley, formerly Compahia Valley do Rio Doce, or Doce. The Sweet River Valley Company, referring to the Doce River, is the largest producer of iron ore and nickel in the world. Valley also produces manganese, ferroalloys, copper, bauxite, potash, kaolin, and cobalt, currently operating 9 hydroelectricity plants and a large network of railroad, ships, and ports used to transport its products. Okay? And that information down there is what recent, but this is what was core. All right? This is the core understanding. They're the largest producer, all right, of iron ore and nickel in the world. Wait a second. Let's go to Deuteronomy 33 and 25, right? And this is in Brazil. Barzal, strong H 1270, right? Iron ore. You see that? See the correlation? See how it aligns with the end time prophecy of who tribe of Asher would be? Where would they be at in these last days? Right here in Brazil. Right there between Colombia all the way down to Uruguay. Now, let's go ahead and get some more information, because this is one of the mining operations that's down there. So the Caras mine is the largest iron ore mine in the world. It is located in the municipality of Paraibas, state of Para, in the Carajas Mountains of northern Brazil. See that? It's the largest iron ore mine in the world. And the company that produces it, Valley, is the largest producer of iron ore in the world. Guess what? They're both in Brazil. Let me read off the rest of this. The mine is operated as an open pit mine and is estimated to contain roughly 7.2 billion tons of iron ore plus gold, manganese, bauxite, copper, and nickel. The mine is run by Valley, formerly the Compahia Valley dos Rio Doce, and was previously part owned with U.S. Steel until 1977. Just showing you the aerial location and the geographical location. Located in Brazil. Products iron ore, 269 million metric tons of iron ore in Brazil. Location in Brazil. All right. Thy shoes shall be iron and brass, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Barzal, Brazil, iron ore, largest iron ore producer in the world, largest company in mining occupation and production in the world. Okay, giving y'all, that's for y'all's edification. Which does what? Further proves and substantiate the point that the tribe of Asher are the different indigenous tribes, indigenous people from Colombia to Uruguay, Peru, Brazil, Venezuela, all right, Bolivia, so on and so forth, Uruguay and Paraguay, okay? Now I'm going to read on in this verse. And as thy days, so shall thy strength be. And it says, as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Because of the different natural resources that is produced down in South America, and the different attributes that the tribe of Asher has in general, they be a mighty strong tribe for the nation of Israel, all right, in these last days, all right, as they wake up. So with that said, I want to say, Call Halal Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, all praise due to the name of the Most High through the name of the Son, the world calls Christ. And I want to say peace and blessings to the brothers and sisters in this truth. Much love to the brothers and sisters, and to the priests, prophets, and elders in this truth. My name is Rayabya from God. So with that said, hopefully you brothers and sisters were edified. I want to say, Call out Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Until next breakdown, until next time, Shalom.